All right, if you're in your 20s, whenever you're watching this video, it could be years ahead of my time, or it could be now, which is most likely now, but that's because we live in this age of mass information, which, by the way, we are pretty much one of the first generations to experience that. We're one of the first generations to experience the emergence of telephones and smartphones and all this stuff, which the new generations will just accept as the new norm. So let us understand first that there's always going to be these conditions that we are born into, that we grow into, and we don't realize that there was something before then. We don't even know that there was a whole life before us of all our grandparents churning butter, raising up cattle on farms, having to do all this crazy work. I mean, we have it quite different from a lot of people back then. I'm not going to say it's easy because in some ways it's harder, in other ways it's easier. Okay, but every generation struggles with this. Those darn kids, they don't know enough. Oh, those darn kids. And we might be one of those people as we grow older. We might already do it now because we see all these kids are basically born into technology. But regardless of that, this message is universal and timeless for any generation that is in their 20s. Why is this significant? I don't like to look at age. I think people judging others' age is not so smart within itself, but it's because, when you're 20s, you are pretty much fully developed, at least your mind, your neocortex, and you can argue it probably goes on longer than that, but generally speaking, you have the ability to think. You have the ability to critically think, to have your own opinions, to have your own worldview, to go about your own life in the way that you want to proceed. And so this is significant because if anybody's going to change the world, especially now, and if anybody recognizes it needs to change now, it's going to be the people in their 20s. At least they're going to have a lot of energy, they're going to have a lot of thought, and they have a lot of question as to what direction to take in our life. And there might be a lot of confusion around that. That's okay. But I'm going to introduce here a very important message for anybody that's in their 20s, especially since I am one of you. I am 23. Okay, and so you can actually look at the date. I am born in 2000, so if it's 2023, I am 23. Pretty much that simple. Quite convenient. But that being said, all the ancient wisdom, all that stuff of the past may get forgotten. And yes, a lot of that's going to come back up. That's not what I'm going to be talking about in this video. What I'm going to be talking about in this video is the roots to all evil itself, which if this generation can understand, it can put an end to a lot of suffering on Earth overall. And I want to make this appeal as an individual of this age because I can see the confusion. I can see all the different sides. I can see all the people fighting, all the people who think that they know it all, the people who think that, man, what do? I don't know it all. And I see all these different extremes and angles. And I don't want to be the one that claims I know it all. First of all, to put that out there, what I'm going to be sharing is not me saying I know the solution to the world, but actually quite the opposite. Because in the age of mass information, everybody's trying to sell you something. Everybody wants you to do something. When do people ever tell you not to do something? When do ever people think about what not to think? Consciously not think, consciously not do. I mean, could you look at a wall for a good amount of time without having to go on your smartphone? Could you be present with no technology around you for at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Can you watch a video more than 5 minutes to 10 minutes? I mean, these are the restraints we're talking about in this generation because we're so conditioned now to 1-minute videos, vertical format, in your face, text on the screen, music playing at all times. When do you ever take the time to reflect and think for yourself? This is very core and important to what I have to say, although it's not what I have to say. Okay, because I can talk about all the dependencies and all the surrounding environments, which is key if you use the mind that you are given, because this is your most powerful tool, and this is the most expressive medium for that tool. So this is what changes the world. And having the information and having to see the transitions between the ages puts you in a position of power, of virtue, of seeing things that other people do not see, of being able to leverage your strength because other people were not born into that age at the right time as you are. So everybody has something to share. Everybody has some sort of value somewhere. That's the beauty in this life. As you recognize you were born in a specific time, that you're experiencing all this madness or all this great, innovation, all of it, both of it. It's beautiful within itself because We can learn from everything, both the good and the bad, all the experiences of life. All of it has something to share and teach us, right? So what is it that I have to share? If I want to share something that isn't pushing an agenda, what does that mean? What are we doing the most on this earth, and what are we programmed the most into at birth and we don't realize it? Well, if you're in your 20s, this is the perfect time to evaluate a belief system that is the prevalent belief system within the world, the most dangerous religion, the most abundant religion in the world, and it's called statism. I talk about this a lot in my videos. For anybody who follows me, it'll sound redundant, but guess what? They still support me. They still are around, and I thank you guys as well for watching, even if you're 50 or double the age of me. I thank you for simply being there, for your support and caring, because you're likely watching because you realize how important it is. Now, those of you who are new to this information, well, you've never heard of it. I think once you start to hear of it and once you start to look down it, you're going to actually start to see everything around you, let's just say. Look around you and realize that the world that you live in, you can call it a matrix, you can call it a lie, whatever. You're just going to see that there's people around you with certain mindsets. You're going to start to see psychology. So I'm not telling you that you're going to see certain events or certain people necessarily. You're going to see mindsets. You're going to see ideas. You're going to become a philosopher naturally. And again, there's no better time to do this than at this age. I would at least consider, if I'm going to use age as a sort of a metric. But anybody can do this at any age, okay? So it's just something I want to mention, because you have the energy, you have the ability to speak, and you know how to use technology. Who's going to be the most effective at sharing that message if it's a message that can help and save and change the world? It's going to be you. Have faith in yourself, right? There's so much power in this generation and what can be done. Even if you grow slowly, but surely you will grow if you put enough persistence and time into it. But a lot of people rather put time into things that they think they should put time into, and it's not actually going to benefit the world. If you want a higher purpose, a higher intent for humanity, an evolution to change the world like the abolitionists in the 19th century who ended slavery after thousands of years, that's a pretty big darn task. And you know what? They probably had some fun along the way. They had to quit some of their jobs, and that wasn't so fun. But it's what you make of it. And you can associate yourself with people who are changing the world like Jim Gale, Food Forest Abundance, growing food. You can walk outside your house and pick food, and there's food growing everywhere. And you can meet people who are inspired, who want to change the world, or you can continue living your life and just doing what a lot of other people are doing. I mean, I'm not saying that you have to be a nonconformist, but I am saying that you have to think for yourself, especially on this issue. I'm going to put some questions on the screen for you, because when you start to question what other people haven't questioned, naturally you will be a nonconformist, but I'm not asking you to do that either. I'm asking you to simply be you. I want you to be you. Humans to be humans. I know this sounds really simple, really redundant. In fact, it is. To say that morality or what is right does not cause harm, that it doesn't create a victim, that it's voluntary. That's a very redundant. Yeah, we know that. Everybody knows that, Corey. Why are you saying that? Well, it's because we violate it every day, and we don't realize it because of this belief system. That's how dangerous this belief system is. If you want to prevent World War II, prevent World War I, prevent every single war in history, you destroy this belief system. If you want to prevent all corruption and evil aggregation, meaning evil, people doing wrong acts, and that being allowed and justified into society and built into the fabric of the culture where people are allowing psychopaths to gain power, you get rid of this belief system. People don't realize how much this one belief system contributes to a lack of responsibility, a lack of ownership, a lack of faith in self, a lack of purpose, a lack of morals, a lack of anything, our humanity. Because what is government? What is people claiming to rule over other human beings? It's them trying to be God, them trying to be something they're not. It's dishonesty. So if you want an honest world, perhaps you want to get rid of this belief system that creates all of this. And it really is this simple, recognizing humanity as humanity. So how did we get in this mess? Violence, coercion, and indoctrination. Primarily indoctrination, because they don't need violence to coerce people. The violence comes last, as a last resort of people not complying. And the violence comes through the order followers who still have that belief system. And so the order followers are you and I. It's everyday people. So the people who create evil are not the one person in history. It's not the Hitler. It's not the Stalin. It's not any leader of the world. It can never be. It's always the millions and the masses that follow them to suppress their own conscience, that do whatever the authority tells them to do. And they put this authority in man. They take it away from nature. They take it away from God, or whatever you see, this higher intention, this higher purpose of a world that simply says, hey, you are in charge of you. You control what you own. So if you wouldn't personally steal your neighbor's money, what makes it right for him to be taxed against his will, which is basically his money being stolen from him? What makes it right for some gang of people to steal his money, but wrong for you to steal his money because they have the authority to do so? Are they not just like you and I? Do they not have the same rights as you and I? Are they not just human, just like you and I? The minute we start to put other people on pedestals, we put ourselves lower. You make yourself your own slave, and people don't realize that mental slavery is the root to all slavery, and it starts with you. So you want to grow into a world, you want to be free, you want to be happy. Start with your mind. Start with the mind that you just developed with critical thinking skills and see where you may end up. I'd say, with a food forest abundance, yeah, you probably can have that. I'd say, yeah, with all this ancient knowledge that's been passed down for generations that can really help people without the use of pharmaceutical drugs, yeah, that can happen. But if you close your mind to that possibility and you say, no, I'm just going to continue my life as is, maybe you'll never see that this life has something so much greater than what meets the eye physically, that what meets, most people and their common demand, because it's conformity. Get past the conformity, get past the common, get past the physical, and you'll start to see that this life, all the greatest things, words don't matter. This doesn't matter. The intent, the value, the energy matters, right? This is why we live life. We want to be happy. We want to have love. So where are we when it comes to promoting those things, especially as this generation? I like to see the fire, the spirit in people speaking their heart and passion. Do you see this often in this generation? You can try to say, oh, Corey, your intellect, this, that, your age, blah, blah, blah. I'm not worried. Don't worry about me, okay? Worry about yourself. Help others in your community. Don't listen to people on the internet either. Realize that there's value in nothingness and emptiness. It's what gives the room value. Otherwise, you can't be in the room. It's what gives the cup value. Otherwise, you can't drink from the cup. It's all the things you don't see actually create all the things you do see. And if you want to underestimate this belief system, which is creating a system which is totally imaginary, then you wonder what is actually causing the problem. It's not what you see, it's what you don't see. It's what happens inside your own mind. It's this belief system. And so I want you to investigate this and just ask yourself these questions to yourself, okay? I'm going to end the video on it because you need to really sit down and think about it for yourself. That's what I had to do. I had to get past some emotions. I had to get past blockades in my own mind because we're trained into this at a very young age, since the school system is based on the Prussian schooling system, where the inventor literally said it was invented to teach obedience, not virtue. Obedience as virtue. That's not the humanity that I want to create. I want to create a better world. Not a world of slaves, not a world of masters and slaves, not a world of rulers and subjects. That's all the same thing. I want humans to be free and abundant and voluntarily choose how to live their own lives. This is a voluntary world. A voluntary world is totally possible. We live it every day as it is, and we only create the exception in politics. We create an exception, and everywhere we create that exception, that small little exception of, yes, violence is legitimate, here we allow violence. And because we allow it, it grows. And it grows indefinitely because we simply allowed it. We gave it permission. We gave evil permission to be evil. I mean, how insane is that? So you can tell I'm kind of fired up. You can tell I kind of care. And I ask, do you care? Does this generation care? And you can point the finger and say other people don't care. You can say they're never going to care or do anything about it. It's not on me. Listen, it's all of us that has to change. And if they conform, then it helps for you to do something too. And if one person can make such a difference throughout history, well then you are one person, are you not? Right? And there are such a thing as voluntary leaders, like people wanting to follow others, emulate their actions because they're inspiring, right? You're listening to me for a reason. I mean, you can be easily a leader among other people by simply being yourself and showing by example, okay? And you can help others and it'll feel good for yourself, okay? So you have personal benefit here, but also you have a benefit for the world as well. And naturally, you don't have to convince others. They can come along for the ride as they see the momentum and the energy rising. This is how all political campaigns happen. This is how all things happen, except the political campaigns are legitimizing this belief system. And people think that that's leadership. People think that that's just business and organization. It's not. There's violence involved. They always leave that part out. And that's why the world keeps getting worse, because there are people with an agenda using violence to back up their agenda. Whereas an entrepreneur, a business, an organization, they have people with an agenda, but they're doing it voluntarily. They're using the market. And if they fail, well, they're out of business. And they have competition. There's people who are going to say, well, our product is better. And then, okay, if their product is better, it goes along and people start to say, hey, wow, this is really cool, really powerful. So then you might ask and say, whoa, what about money? Corey, money is very important. Like, what if we don't end money? Don't worry, there's going to be digital money. There's going to be all sorts of ways that people are going to be tracking you. And those people are government, which are just people like you and I, but they call themselves government because we give them permission to do evil. We give them this position of authority that doesn't exist. And because I was going off on a tangent, I forgot to talk about money. Yeah, well, money is just a material thing. What's behind that? The idea, the belief in money. It's always what we don't see. It's our mindset. We believe in it. It's greed. It's what makes money dangerous because it's a tool. It's like any other currency. Apple for an orange. There's always going to be some sort of currency in society. But money has been turned into this thing that is a religion of its own, but because it doesn't need to have violence behind it, is it really much a concern? Whereas this belief system is the very belief system that creates and legitimizes violence. So that is a concern, because then technology and money and the tools that we might call the threats, well, they're actually just going to be used alongside this belief system, which is the very thing that allows evil in the very first place. Okay, so money is not the root cause here, but it is a concern. Yes, technology is still a concern as well. But having a government, having this statist mindset, this belief system, makes everything drastically worse because it is at the roots to all evil. Whereas money and technology, they're just material things. And at least we can identify them. Okay, so you want to end tech surveillance, you want to end invasive privacy and all this other stuff, all these other concerns, mandates. Well, then get rid of this belief system. It's that simple. It is literally giving people permission to do violence and then saying, well, just the right amount of violence can perfect society, whether it's a limited government or not. And so there's going to be tons of forms of economics. There's going to be tons of forms of how to live your life if we let people live voluntarily. And that's just letting life be. And that's just leaving people alone. And that's just let and let live. And that's just do no harm. And that's the golden rule. And yet it's been taught for thousands of years. And here we are. We still haven't figured it out as humanity. Insane. Thank you very much for watching. This is Corey Angelat. Nature is the answer.